Euro 2024 is finally here. Over the next week, we'll be building up to the tournament in Germany with a preview from each group. It's time for our final preview of Euro 2024, which is of course Group F. Alright, let's get into our final preview then for the group stage. It is of course Group F. Harry, quite an interesting group, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a nice mix of very, very good teams and very strong teams, and also teams who have never been here before, and it's a very new experience. So much looking forward to this one. Euro's only a couple of days away now. Cannot wait. Going to get into these four decent teams. Let's be honest, they're decent.
Yeah, it should be. Let's start then with Czechia, of course, the Czech Republic. They've been quite good in recent years, to be fair. They got quite far at Euro 2020, I believe. I think they played England, didn't they, in the round of 16, something like that? Quarterfinals, I think, but yeah, no, they are a really strong nation. They've got a high position of second. Obviously, they did win it when they were Czechoslovakia, but since they became the Czech Republic, they've got a runners-up medal in there. And well, I think there'll be optimism in this tournament for the Czech national side because they are quite a decent team.
Yeah, and I mean they're coming into this with a new manager, which is shocking, and. You know, I'm sure they're going to give it a good go. They'll look at this group, they'll fancy themselves, they're a decent side, they can cause problems for other teams on their day. And who knows, with a new manager, I mean, I don't know if the new manager perhaps effect works in national management, but we're going to find out. Who knows, they could upset the apple cart a little bit by getting out of this group.
Yeah, you mentioned Ivan Hasek. They're obviously brought in March, so he's had 2 matches. They deemed the previous manager not to be good enough after a bit of a disappointing Euros qualifying campaign. I mean, they finished second behind Albania. They qualified, but they would have wanted to be topping that group, and they were only through, I believe, on goal difference. No, they were level to around points with Albania. Poland only a couple of points in behind. So they weren't too happy with that, and the performances weren't great. They barely scored any goals, and that was a real issue. We didn't really see Patrick Schick play either. He was, I think, injured for bits of it, but then not really involved in the side.
Yeah.
He has come back into the fold under Hasek, and that's why I'm including him as the key player. I think... Again, thinking back to the last Euros, he was really good there. Got a couple goals. That's very much propelled them forward.
He was a joint top goal scorer, and he was unfortunate to lose out to Ronaldo because Ronaldo had more assists. He had a phenomenal tournament.
Exactly.
And if he can do that once again for Czech Republic, then they're going to have a strong campaign.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that Schick is one of the a top level striker. There's a reason that he's at Bayer Leverkusen this season. He's been great coming off the bench and scoring late goals for them, and so it's going to be really interesting to see what impact he can have on this tournament. But yeah, there's definitely a lot of hope for Czechia because their side is quite good. Let's have a look at their team then tactically. A 3-4-1-2 for Czech is how they've played in the most recent internationals. Obviously, we've only got 2 games to go off, so it's quite difficult to piece together what they might look like. In goal, it's Stanek. I expect he'll be given the nod over I forget his name now, the goalkeeper for Bayer Leverkusen, Matej Kokar, I think is his name. But yeah, he'll probably be given the nod there because he is a starting goalkeeper. Kovar, doesn't start for Leverkusen. In the back 3, Krejci, Zima and Holej. Krejci, he plays in that role for Czech Republic. Often he can play in the middle midfield for Slavia Prague, but he will likely start in the back line. Across the 4, Jurasek, Sabalek, Suchek and Soufal. Again, the 2 West Ham boys in there. You've got Sadalek, who plays for FC Twente in the Netherlands. So quite a strong team, a lot of very good players. You've got Barak, who plays for Fiorentina, will likely line up in attacking midfield. And a front 2 of Hlozek and Schick. So a very good team. Obviously, a bit of a club link there because I think Hlozek was at, or may still be at, Bayer Leverkusen. So those 2 have played together on the international stage and, of course, domestically. So that does hand them advantage. Quite a strong team, though. Again, we expect the wing-backs will get very high here. Soufal's a very attacking fullback. At times, it's going to look a bit like a 5-3-2, I imagine, out of possession. They'll just try and be as compact as possible. It's quite difficult, but we've seen it work before where they sack a manager, you bring one in just before the tournament. The most recent example would be Morocco. They brought in their manager about, 2 months before the tournament, something like that, a month before the tournament. He played 1 set of internationals before coming in, and before coming into a World Cup. So that was, that worked really well for them because they got to the semi-finals. Yeah. So it can work. Whether it'll work for Czechia or not, whether they'll get to the semi-finals, I doubt, but they definitely could go far.
Yeah, definitely. It's going to be back to the wall defending, but they do possess a front 2 who can quite literally fire you through to the knockouts.
Yeah, definitely so. Let's move on to Georgia then, and it feels like we're at the start of a golden generation here. There's a lot of talent coming through Georgia right now, and it's, symbolised by this, their first ever qualification to a major international tournament, a huge moment for them.
Yeah, and it's absolutely brilliant, and for them, this is the Euros. It doesn't matter what happens here; they're here. That's what matters to them. They were brilliant in qualifying. Obviously, they advanced fourth in their group. Advanced via the playoffs by beating Greece on penalties. They were brilliant. The scenes, the elation after that was absolutely brilliant to see.
Yeah.
And I think everyone is just happy that Georgia are here, and they'll fight. They'll give it a go. But you have to give credit to the team, the players, the manager. They're here. They've done something that no one else could do for their nation, and you have to give them credit for that.
Yeah, well, let's talk about that manager then. Willy Sagnol, obviously a defender in his day, played for Saint Etienne, Monaco and Bayern Munich, and has always been a solid defender. This is his first job in senior management, but it's his first one in a few years. Obviously, once he retired, he became a U21 coach for France. Then he went and coached Bordeaux for 2 years. That went all right. Then he had a really bad season, so they sacked him. Then he was the assistant at Bayern Munich under Carlo Ancelotti, which only lasted for 4 months before they were sacked there. And he became the Georgia manager in February 2021. And since then, he's seen them rise up the FIFA rankings. They've been picking up a lot more victories. They've been playing really well. And that has coincided with a lot of talent. You think of players coming through now. Georgia's Mikataudze, you've got Kavicha Kvaratskhelia, of course. You've got Georgi Mamardashvili, who's one of the most highly rated young goalkeepers around. In terms of a key player, though, I'm going to pick out the obvious one. It's Kavicha Kvaratskhelia. 4 goals in qualifiers. Ultimately, that couldn't push them through in the qualifiers. They had to go through the playoffs in the Nations League, but they did get through that. And I think if they're going to go anywhere in this tournament, Kvaratskhelia will be crucial for that.
Yeah, 100%. I think they'll feel a bit frustrated that Kvaratskhelia isn't in the form that he showed last season for Napoli.
Yeah.
But overall, that doesn't matter. He is still a phenomenal player. He's going to come into this tournament and he is going to help his country perform to the best of their ability. He is a ridiculously talented man. He has phenomenal talent. He's a very, very dangerous player. He can cause any team problems on any day of the week. And he's definitely one to watch, because who knows, with him driving them forwards and Mamardashvili keeping them in games, could they drive forwards? Could Georgia make a miraculous push towards the top of the group? Who knows? Yeah,
I don't think we're saying anything new or nuanced by describing Kvaratskhelia quality. One of the best dribblers in world football. His ball striking is phenomenal as well, and that can make such a difference in major tournament, those aspects of his game, because if he can pick up the ball, carry it at 40 yards, put it in the back of the net, that changes games. So you never know, maybe he can pull off something massive for Georgia. Let's talk tactics then. It looks like it'll be a 3-5-2. Now, we've seen Sagnol experiment throughout the qualifiers. They tended to opt for 4-4-1-1 or 4-1-4-1 at times. They played 4-3-3. They played all sorts of variations of those kind of shapes. In the playoffs, though, he simplified it, went 3-5-2, and they got through. So I very much expect they will line up with that again. Of course, in goal, Mamardashvili, hero of those playoffs. He managed to save penalties in the shootout against Greece. Absolutely huge. In the back three, Diwali, Kashia, the captain, and Kvaratskhelia. Again, apologies for any mispronunciations with the names. They are quite difficult. Across the 5, it's Shengelia, Kochorashvili, Kvaratskhelia, Chakvatadze and Kakabadze.
What a midfield.
Some fantastic players in there. And then obviously a front two of Kvaratskhelia and Mikataudze. So a strong team, some real standout players in there. A lot of players, I'll be honest, I've never heard of before, as you can probably tell by the way I'm pronouncing their names. But they have got some star players. Is that enough, though, to get them out of this group? What do you think?
I mean, we talk about individual quality making the difference, and I think it will. And to be honest, they'll give Czech Republic a good go. They'll give Turkey a good go. Portugal might be stretched too far. I don't know. I mean, the group, there's potential. I think the group is one of the nicer ones in the tournament. But there's a chance here that if Georgia get it right, if that individual quality can provide and perform, there's a chance Georgia can sneak something here.
Yeah, I think they would have preferred to be in Group E, because that would have given them a really nice draw. But no, they'll take their grouping and they'll see what they can do with it. Let's have a look, though, at those favourites then. Portugal, of course. There's a reason that they're favourites top this group, and there's a reason they are one of the teams in that conversation to win the whole thing. Of course, winners of the 2016 edition. That's their sole Euros title. And Obviously, quite an emotional moment, that game. And, well, Portugal, they are a very good side. They had an incredible run in qualifying. I think the only way you can summarise it is perfect. They won 10 from 10. They kept 9 clean sheets in 10 games. They rolled teams over like 10, 9, 7, 8-0. They were battering everyone in that group. Yes, it was an undoubtedly easy group, but still, to get 9 clean sheets, to average 3.6 goals per game, it shows they're ruthless. It shows they're going to turn up to this tournament as killers. I do worry when they're tested by a big opposition how they're going to handle that, but there's some really good signs here.
Yeah, 100%. They laid down the first marker, didn't they, with that? Well, with one of the strongest qualifying campaigns we've ever seen, and it was absolutely phenomenal. And again, I think they've got a favourable group draw here, so maybe that needs to be investigated. But overall, I think they should be absolutely fine. They're a very, very good side, but as you say, when they play the big sides, could it get difficult? My one thing is they can't allow to get complacent, because yes, this group isn't one of the strongest, but as we just spoke about with Georgia, as we spoke about with Czech Republic, and as we'll speak about with Turkey, if Portugal aren't on their game here, there could be a giant killing. This could be the group where we see the upset. So for the Portuguese, it's about remaining controlled and getting these wins across the line.
And even so, a drop of points in any game, even if they were to beat, for example, Czechia and Georgia and then lose to Turkey, and Turkey have won their other 2 games, suddenly your placement and your drawing for the next round in the knockouts becomes a lot more difficult, because you're going to have to get through. You'll have to probably end up playing a first side, so someone that's finished top of their group. That can become a lot more difficult to achieve. But yeah, so Portugal, brilliant run. Manager Roberto Martinez, again, I have no idea how he managed to get this job. He was terrible at Belgium. For some reason, the Portuguese FA have put faith in him, and so far he's repaying that. What's a successful first tournament for Martinez at Portugal look like for you? Have they got to be getting semi-finals, quarter-finals, or what do you think?
Yeah, to us, I think with just the quality they've got, the pedigree that their side carry, I'd expect to see them right at the end of this tournament, up there with your Frances and with your Englands. Maybe not finalists, maybe not semi-finalists, but I'd expect quarter-finals as a minimum. This Portuguese side is strong. They've got some really good players, and players with a lot of history and legends of the game. They can't be getting knocked out early. I'd expect them to make a really good go of this Euros.
Yeah, exactly. You mentioned legends of the game there. Well, one is, of course, their key player, Cristiano Ronaldo. He was second top scorer in the Euros, qualifying 10 goals. Now, I know about half of those came against Luxembourg, but you've still got to put the ball in the back of the net. Yeah. So he's coming in on a really good run of form. And it's clear he still cares. We saw that in the most recent cup final in Saudi Arabia, where he was really, you put on a really good acting performance, honestly, as he was in tears about Al Nassr losing. So it's quite clear he still deeply cares. And for Portugal, that will be heightened because it is his nation. We saw in 2016 how even when he went off injured, he was pretty much playing on the sideline, the way he was coaching his players, his teammates through the game. But it's going to be really interesting. I think we could see a clash there. I wouldn't be surprised as a sort of weakness between Martinez and Ronaldo. I don't think Martinez has the authority, really, that the other coaches would have in that role. So I do think that could be a point of contention. We saw in 2016 a little bit how Ronaldo can sort of overshadow the manager. And I wouldn't be surprised if Martinez is struggling for control in there, and that could be to their detriment. It could also win them the competition, though. So let's see what happens there. But let's look at it tactically then. We expect it will be a 4-3-3 for Portugal. Diego Costa in goal. Now he's been their starting goalkeeper for the last 2 tournaments, or last tournament, sorry. He will be for this one. This will be his second tournament. He is a really reliable young goalkeeper. I expect he'll move on to a bigger club than Porto soon. Not saying they're small, but I mean one of the big European sides, because he is a very good goalkeeper. In the back four, it will likely be Cancelo, Diaz, Inacio, and Diego Dallo. Obviously, you could then see Cancelo making those inverted runs, and we know how dangerous that can be. It's a midfield 3 of Otavio, Palhinha, and Bruno Fernandes. It's a really strong midfield. I mean, I think we could see Danilo Pereira over Palhinha, but in terms of that energy, I think you'd rather have João Palhinha in there, that engine. He is such a good disruptor, and I think he would be really good in that role. And then a front 3 of João Felix, Cristiano Ronaldo, and Bernardo Silva. It is a squad packed with quality. The fact that Rafael Leao can't even get into this team really shows that. Goncalo Ramos, another one, won't get in this team. I think they're the type of players that will play that third group game if Portugal are comfortable. But they've got a really strong squad. They've got a really strong starting 11. I think it'd be wrong to write them off for winning the whole thing. They're really decent team.
Yeah, 100%. They should really give this tournament a run, and if they can win their second Euros title in the last 8 years, that would be very impressive to win 2 from 3. I think they could be let down by their manager, Roberto Martinez, towards the end of the tournament, especially when it comes to those crunch moments, because he's not better than Deschamps. Is he better than Gareth Southgate? I don't know. Is he better than the other managers in the tournament? I'm not sure. So that could be their downfall, is Martinez. But apart from that, they're a good side. They should be okay.
But equally, I would argue he's a better manager, at least tactically, than Gareth Southgate. I don't know how modern his tactics are, because he's been out of the club game for so long now. It's quite hard to decipher. But I would argue he's a better manager than him. And while he might not be considered an elite manager, in the international game, he is quite strong. It doesn't always make the huge difference, because I don't think that in Euro 2016, I don't even remember the name of the Portugal manager, but they still beat Deschamps' France team in that final. So you can definitely still win. Again, I don't think that Scaloni is better than Deschamps, but he still managed to win the Argentina still won the World Cup. So it can all come down to a matter of a game, and I think that Portugal almost match France in that having those star players that can come up with a moment of magic. Cristiano Ronaldo or Kylian Mbappe, they're very much even in that sense. So I do think Portugal got a very good chance of going very far in this tournament, if not all the way. Let's move on to our final team then, a very exciting young team in Turkey. Now, they were everyone's dark horses for Euro 2020, and understandably so. They flopped massively, but there's not as much expectation or pressure. Nobody's calling them dark horses yet. I think everyone might be doing that again in a couple of weeks' time when they're getting into predictions and we're all having deja vu. But I think the Turkey team is really, really strong. Obviously, a highest position of 3rd in their history. And, they're playing really well under Vincenzo Montella. Their qualifying was interesting, but they looked fairly solid throughout it, didn't they?
Yeah, that's what you need to do. You don't... Obviously, Portugal, they were flying, they were brilliant, but sometimes the qualifiers are just that. Just qualify for the tournament, get the job done. And they did that. They looked decent. They won. 5 wins in 2 draws and a loss isn't a bad record at all. Yeah. And they're here, and that's what matters.
Yeah, I do think they had a big issue in the fact they really lacked goals.
Oh my God, yeah.
I think they're very much missing Burak Yilmaz in that role. Of course, he doesn't play for the Turkish national team anymore, understandably so. I think it's quite difficult, because I don't think you can burden the responsibility of goal scoring on Enes Ünal. I don't think you can rely on that. So
or Cenk
Tosun, exactly, who is the backup option. So I do think they've got a bit of an issue there. They have got another Yilmaz, but I don't think he's ready yet to play that starting berth. They're just waiting for him to get a bit bigger and bald. But shave his head. But yeah, I think that Turkey might have an issue in scoring goals, but they have got a lot of creative players in those midfield areas. So if they can create some chances, they might be able to come up with a bit of individual quality, those type of players. Vincenzo Montella, then the manager, very accomplished manager. He's managed pretty much every team in the Serie A. Most recently at Demirspor in Turkey, was sacked from that role in June of 2023 and became the manager of Turkey last September. So he's only been in the role, 7 months now? It's quite soon, obviously, to have a major international tournament. But they do seem to be playing very well. Let's talk key player, Hakan Çalhanoğlu, I've listed. Wow. Obviously, we expect him to play a much higher role than he currently plays for Inter Milan. This season, he's switched to be a bit more of a deep-lying playmaker, a more traditional number 6. Obviously, he's used to being that attacking midfielder, that number 10 type role. So there is a bit of a difference there in the role he'll be asked to do in this Turkey national team. I think that, though, he will flourish in that role, because if we flick on over to the tactics, 4-2-3-1 is how we expect them to line up. I think they've got a really strong squad. In goal, I think it'll be Uğur Şakir. There's a little bit of a conversation as to who will start in goal, but I expect the Trabzonspor goalkeeper will likely beat out Altay Bayındır, because he's actually playing. Bayındır hasn't played all year since joining Manchester United. In the back four, Özkakar, Kabak, Demiral and Çelik. A few players there I think people will be familiar with. Obviously, Ozan Kabak was at Schalke for years. Then he joined Liverpool on a loan for half a season and wasn't great, but still very good player. He was at Norwich as well, I think, in the Premier League, and that also didn't go well, but he is still a decent player. Mary Demiral, of course, has played for Atalanta and Juventus and is a very well-respected defender. In the midfield pivot, it's Orkan Kokcu and Kokcu and Salih Özcan. Özcan obviously part of the Dortmund side that got to the Champions League final. Kokcu part of the fantastic Feyenoord side that won the league this season and has seen Arne Slot go on over to Liverpool. Across the three, Aktürkoğlu, Çalhanoğlu and Kenan Yildiz. There's a lot of hype around Kenan Yildiz. I almost put him as the key player because I think he's a really exciting young talent, and if they can get him involved in the play, let him have a lot of the ball, I think he really could flourish. This could be his breakout tournament, and he doesn't really need one because he's already at Juventus and already playing really, really well. But it might just put him on the radar of those top clubs, your Real Madrid, Barcelona, Man City type clubs. I think he could be in line for a big move. And I think Juventus would welcome the money. But he is a great player, and they'd love to keep him, I'm sure. And then leading the line, of course, Enes Ünal. I think will start in that role. There's a couple options, as I say. We could see Cenk Tosun, but I don't think anybody particularly wants to see that. So, yeah, there's a lot of consideration for this Turkey side. But it is quite a good team, I think.
Yeah, they are a decent side, and again, I think they'll cause problems. They'll probably, I look at this group, they should be okay to get through. They'll cause Portugal problems as well. But there is just a massive lack of firepower in an international tournament. I mean, take Czech Republic, who we started at the top of the show. Patrick Schick fired them to the knockouts of the Euro 2020. He is the type of striker that can carry the whole team by just scoring goals. Turkey haven't got that. And when you have a front line that can't really score goals, you're not going to go anywhere in these kind of tournaments.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I do think that the groups, they will have enough to get through, because I think even if they can't get a goal against Czechia or Portugal, I think they could still draw both those games. So then you're already on 2 points. And I think, despite their woes in front of goal, I think they will get some goals against Georgia. Suddenly you're on 5 points, and then that's either second or third with qualification. 5 points in third, you're very likely to go through the playoffs. So I think there is a good chance that Turkey get into the knockouts here. How far they go from there, I'm not quite sure. And you can't really predict football. I think if you were going to predict this group, Portugal are going to top it. That, for me, I'm very confident on that. The other three, anything could happen, but you would expect to be Turkey, Czechia, and then Georgia. But you never know. Georgia might turn up to this tournament and be fantastic. If it comes down to individual quality, I'm backing Kavica, Kvaratskhelia over anyone else in this group. Bar possibly, Felix, Ronaldo, those type players at Portugal. But out of the other three, if it comes down to it, Kvaratskhelia might make the difference. So it's going to be very interesting to see. I think this is one of the more exciting groups. A lot of people will be, won't focus on this group because, it's boring apparently, other than Portugal. But as a fan of football that is a bit more obscure, I think Turkey, Georgia, Czechia, all really interesting teams, and I'll be very fascinated to see the outcome of this group.
Yeah, can't wait. Going to be a very good tournament. 2 days now.
Well, exactly. This is our last preview, so I hope you are in the mood. Tomorrow it is time for our predictions for the tournament. I'm very, very excited for those. Look out for them because they're going to be good or completely wrong. Either way, it's going to be a good video. But look out for that. Of course, 2 days now until our tournament opener, Germany versus Scotland. And remember, we will be live for every single Euro 2024 fixture. So don't go anywhere. Subscribe to the channel. Make sure you got your notifications on so you are joining us for every single game. That's everything from us today. Thank you guys very, very much for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow.
See ya.